In the summer of 1940, a prominent Massachusetts businessman was laid to rest after what authorities called a tragic accident. His widow wept at the graveside. The town grieved. But 3 months later, someone walked into the district attorney's office with a photograph, and the coffin they had buried was empty. This is the story of Lewis B. Allyn.
Westfield, Massachusetts, July 1940. Lewis B. Allyn was 42 years old. He owned a successful heating and plumbing business. He lived in a well-kept home on Elm Street with his wife, Mabel. On the evening of July 23rd, Lewis told Mabel he was going fishing at a pond outside town. He'd done this before. He took his tackle box. He left around 6. He never came home. The next morning, Mabel called the police. They found Lewis's car parked near the pond. His fishing rod was on the bank. His jacket was folded on the seat. But Lewis was gone. They dragged the pond. Nothing. They searched the woods. Nothing. For 3 days, volunteers combed the area. Westfield was a small town. Everyone knew Lewis. Everyone wanted to help. On the 4th day, they found a body floating in the Connecticut River, 11 miles downstream. The body was badly decomposed, bloated, discolored, unrecognizable, but it was wearing Lewis's clothes, his watch, his wedding ring. Mabel identified the items. The medical examiner ruled it an accidental drowning. Lewis must have slipped, fallen into a tributary, been carried downstream. They held the funeral on July 30th. The casket was closed. The town mourned.
3 months passed. October 1940. A man walked into the office of District Attorney Thomas F. Moriarty in Springfield. He did not give his name. He placed a photograph on the desk, and he left. The photograph showed a man standing in front of a storefront in Albany, New York. Stamped on the back was a date, August 14, 1940, 2 weeks after Lewis B. Allyn's funeral. The man in the photograph was Lewis B. Allyn. Moriarty stared at it. He called the Westfield police. He called the state police. He ordered the grave opened. On October 18th, the coffin was exhumed. Inside, they found the body of a stranger, a man approximately Lewis's age, approximately Lewis's height, dressed in Lewis's clothes, wearing Lewis's watch and ring. But it was not Lewis. The medical examiner conducted an autopsy. The man had been dead before entering the water. Cause of death: blunt force trauma to the skull. Someone had killed this man, dressed him in Lewis's clothes, placed him in the river, and Lewis B. Allyn had attended his own funeral, watched from somewhere, and then disappeared. The investigation reopened. State police traced the photograph. The storefront was a diner in Albany called Mickey's Lunch. The owner remembered a man matching Lewis's description. He'd come in twice, paid cash, didn't talk much, but by the time police arrived, he was gone. Back in Westfield, they questioned Mabel. She insisted she knew nothing. She'd identified the clothing, yes, but the body had been unrecognizable. She'd been grieving. She'd trusted the authorities. They searched Lewis's business records. His finances were clean. No debts, no obvious motive to disappear. They interviewed his friends, his employees, his relatives. No one had any idea why Lewis would vanish. No one had heard from him. Except a postal clerk in Springfield came forward. In late August, a man had mailed a letter from the main post office. The clerk couldn't be certain, but the man looked like the photograph of Lewis Allyn circulating in the papers. The letter had been addressed to a name in New York City. The clerk couldn't remember which name. Police checked every lead. They contacted authorities in New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island. They circulated Lewis's photograph to hotels, rooming houses, diners. Nothing solid ever surfaced.
Meanwhile, investigators tried to identify the body, the man buried in Lewis Allyn's grave. He was white, between 35 and 45 years old, approximately 5'10", brown hair, no distinguishing marks, no fingerprints on file. Dental records led nowhere. Police checked missing persons reports across New England. Dozens of men had vanished that summer. None of them matched. Sketches were published in newspapers. No one came forward. Whoever he was, no one was looking for him, or whoever had been looking had stopped. A theory began to take shape. Lewis Allyn had met someone, somewhere, someone close enough in appearance to pass as him, at least after weeks in the water. That man was killed, dressed in Lewis's clothes and staged. But who killed him? Lewis himself? Someone helping Lewis? Or someone framing him? The case files do not say, because in December of 1940, the investigation quietly stalled.
There were no more sightings, no letters, no confessions. Mabel Allyn continued living in the house on Elm Street. She told reporters she believed her husband was alive. She hoped he would come home, but she never heard from him again. Louis Allyn's business was liquidated. His assets were eventually transferred to Mabel. The unidentified man was reburied in an unmarked section of the cemetery. By 1942, with war consuming the nation's attention, the case faded from the newspapers. But it never closed. Officially, Louis B. Allyn remains a missing person. The unidentified man buried in his grave remains unidentified, and the person who delivered that photograph to the district attorney's office was never found.
July 30th, 1940. The closed casket, the hymns, Mabel dressed in black, and somewhere, maybe across the street, maybe in the back row, maybe nowhere near at all, Lewis Allyn watching. Did he feel guilt? Relief? Fear? Did he mourn the stranger buried in his place? Or did he simply leave? There are questions the case files never answer. Where did Lewis Allyn go? Who was the man in the river? Who took the photograph in Albany? Westfield is still a quiet town. Elm Street still exists. The cemetery is still there. And somewhere in the records, filed away and gathering dust, is a case that asks a single question. What would make a man kill a stranger, reclaim his own life, and vanish into nothing? If you know anything about the disappearance of Lewis B. Allyn, the Westfield Police Department still has an open file.